Hello students, our lesson for today is lesson number 3, labor, which I have divided into two parts. So today we are going to look into the first part of the lesson. Now, first thing that we have to see is that what is labor, okay? So basically, in the words of Thomas, labor means that it consists of all human efforts of body or mind undertaken in expectation of a reward. That means humans put in their efforts of two kinds. One is the physical effort and the other is the mental effort. And both are done in the expectation of a reward. That means to get something in return, and basically expectations are more of monetary kind. Okay. Now let's move on, and we are going to look into the different types of labor. Now the first type of labor that we are going to look into is physical and mental labor. Now, physical labor is that labor where laborer has to undergo great physical exertion, where the laborer has to give lots and lots of effort from the body. Okay, whereas mental labor is that kind of a labor which involves a lot of intellectual of the individual. That means a lot of brain is used over here. So example of physical labor is like a person who is a tailor, a rickshaw puller, or a cobbler, whereas a mental labor would be someone like accountant, doctor, manager, or a teacher. These are examples of mental labor. The next that we are going to look into is skilled, semi-skilled and unskilled labor. Now a skilled labor is the one who has acquired specialized training. Okay, he or she has a particular kind of a professional course, okay, specialized course. Whereas semi-skilled is that kind of a labor who is not fully trained but partially professionally trained, okay, to some extent trained for that particular field of work, which is sufficient enough for a particular kind of work. And the next is unskilled labor, which is completely not trained at all. So example of skilled labor can be technicians or technologists or engineers, doctors, okay, these people, and they are highly paid because they are fully skilled in their profession. On the other hand, semi-skilled laborers can include mechanical fitters or electricians. These are people who are not fully trained and educated, not fully specialized, but definitely they are paid a little better than the unskilled laborers. And the unskilled laborers are the ones who are poorly paid, and they are found to be maximum in India. In India, you will find maximum people who are unskilled. The next is professional and administrative. Okay, professional laborer is the one who undergoes advanced study and training. That means has to do a lot of specialized training. It's a little similar to a skilled labor. Okay, so for example, a teacher has to undergo B.Ed. Why B.Ed? Because that is the professional course meant for a person to be a teacher. Okay, or a person who has to become a doctor has to undergo the training of MBBS in order to become a doctor. On the other hand is administrative, where it talks about special type of training for supervision kind of work. Okay, so managerial work I should say. So for example, people like managing directors, general managers, and people who are in administrative work will be considered in this kind of category. Next is productive labor and unproductive labor. Now productive labor is that labor which leads to the creation of material goods or assets for earning an income. Okay, so that labor which is creating something in order to earn an income will be productive labor, whereas unproductive labor will be that kind of a labor which cannot contribute towards production of goods, which cannot contribute towards a good creation in order to earn money. Okay, now for example, if we see, an unproductive labor would be a writer who writes an article but cannot get it published. Okay. Now, next is employed and unemployed. Well, employed means a person who is engaged in the production process, and unemployed means who is definitely capable of doing efforts, of making all the necessary efforts physically as well as mentally, but is not actually engaged in that process of production. Okay, so has the capacity to do it but is not engaged in such kind of a work. And the last kind is wage and non-wage. Now, wage labor, these are those workers who are hired on a fixed wage. Okay, for example, the factory workers, they are hired on fixed wages. Their amount, that the amount to be given to them is quite fixed. Okay, and it is already set by the authorities of the factory. But non-wage laborers are those who do not earn any fixed wages. For example, people who are self-employed, like there can be doctors and there also can be lawyers. They don't get a wage rate. They are non-wage laborers. Okay, so these are the different kinds of labor. Now let's move on to the characteristics of labor. And the first characteristic of labor is that human efforts only. That means labor means human efforts only. So basically labor, like we already saw in the definition, labor includes both mental as well as physical effort of the human beings. And therefore labor means human efforts are must. If it's a labor, it has to give out efforts, both physical as well as mental. Number 2, the laborer sells his services. Okay, and the laborer is not selling himself or herself, but the laborer sells the services only. Okay, so when a worker is selling his services, he himself remains quite independent. Okay, and what happens is that a laborer can or cannot agree to do a work. For example, if I am given a work, it is my choice if I want to do that work or not. Okay, and the labor factor comes into consideration when he agrees to offer his services on certain terms and conditions. So basically, when a laborer enters into the process of production, he is actually selling his services and not himself. Okay, and he has to work under certain terms and conditions. The next characteristic is that labor is an active factor of production. Now, why is labor an active factor of production? Because the laborer is a living entity. Because labor is a living thing, therefore labor is considered to be an active factor. So basically, a worker can perform his services without the cooperation from land and capital. That means labor does not need something else then produce something. No. Like for example, in the lesson land, we saw that land is a passive factor because land cannot produce on its own. But labor with his own efforts and services can produce a lot, even if he is not getting any other factor of production. Okay. Our next point is labor is perishable. Now, if a laborer does not work for a day, his one day's work will be lost forever. So that particular day's work is gone. If today I am not teaching, for example, then today's teaching is gone. Today's day is gone. Okay. So a laborer actually agrees to work even at a lower wage when he feels that his labor is likely to be wasted. Because of this peculiarity, a laborer does not have the same bargaining power similar to his employer. Basically what happens is labor is perishable. Now labor here is meaning the services. Okay, so the services of a particular day can perish if the laborer is not working for that day. So if, for example, being a teacher, if I am absent in school, so the service that I should have been providing for that particular day are perished. They're gone. Okay, this is the same thing in the case of laborers. Next is laborers differ in efficiency, or we can say there is difference in the efficiency of every laborer. Now, for example, let's take an example. If a trained and skilled kind of a person or experienced worker falls sick, okay, and that person is not able to come to work, it is very difficult to get a similar skilled worker, right? For example, a person is very well trained, then definitely it is not going to be easy to find a similar trained kind of a person with the same efficiency. There will definitely be difference, okay, and this is the main reason why different categories of workers get different wages, because every wage rate depends upon the efficiency of the laborer, and every laborer has its own efficiency. So therefore we cannot say that each and every laborer has the same level of efficiency, okay, so everyone's efficiency is totally different. The next and the last point is less mobile. That means labor is less mobile. And why do you think labor is less mobile? Because laborers are so attached to their families, to their home, to their surroundings, that they are not able to leave their places. And the problem of language also comes in between. The differences in living habits, the social customs, all of these become a barrier in order to let the laborer move from one place to another. But now the times have changed and it has become quite modern. Therefore, because of the modern technologies, modern transport systems, better earnings, better employment opportunities, the mobility of labor has certainly increased. Okay, so it has increased because of the modernization. But earlier, if we see, the laborer was not very mobile, and even today there are some laborers who are still not mobile even after the modernization. The reason is because they are quite attached to their own homes, their own surroundings. Language becomes a barrier, and social customs become a barrier. Okay, now I hope students that you all have understood till here. Let's move on. Now there are some facts that tell the importance of labor, and those facts are: number one, that labor is an inactive factors of production cannot be utilized without labor. Okay, so basically labor is necessary to utilize inactive resources such as land and capital. So we have to understand that without labor, factors of production like land and capital, which are passive factors, cannot be used, and therefore labor is important. Okay, so labor is necessary. Therefore, when human efforts are made, then the inactive factors of production start producing. Therefore, labor is needed for them, and they are necessary. It is necessary to utilize labor in order to get or obtain production from inactive factors. The next point is natural resources and capital have no identity without labor. Now, land and capital would lay waste in absence of labor. If natural resources and capital don't have an identity without labor, why it says like this: if you leave the land alone, it's not going to give you any produce. If you leave the capital alone, again it's not going to give you any produce. This point is very similar to the first point. Therefore, labor is necessary in order to get good production out of the natural resources and capital. Okay, and the third and the last point is economic growth is influenced by labor. So that means a country's economic growth is very much influenced by labor. If your labor is hard working, they are dedicated people, they are intelligent also, then this can lead to a great development in the nation, because such kind of hard working and intelligent as well as dedicated laborers can really bring good productivity, and when they bring good productivity, that will definitely lead to the development of the nation and nation's economic level. Okay, so therefore we have to understand that labor is a passive factor, and without labor it becomes quite difficult for other factors to develop, as well as even the economic growth is also influenced by labor.